Marketing strategy. Please help me welcome Danielle Bateman Girondo. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. Chief Marketing Officer for Midwest BankCentre.
Thank you. Good morning. Is the mic on? Now it's on. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. We're going to start off with a show of hands. I have a second grader and I have a fifth grader, and I will often ask them, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to be? Did you guys ever get that question? Okay, by a show of hands, who knew what they wanted to be when they grew up? Okay, a couple of people. I did not. Which is glaringly obvious if you look at my career and at my resume. So I knew I wanted to be in business, but I didn't know what I wanted to be in business. So I did finance, accounting, operations, strategy. I'm in marketing. And I did it in a lot of different industries, from investment banking to casinos to hard discount grocery, and then in the community banking space. And it looks pretty scattered, right? I think it does. But when I sat back and about 10 years into my career, I figured out, what do I enjoy doing? Where do I get my energy? And that was really around solving hard problems. I enjoyed working in the gray. And there is often no more gray than when a company is at a transition point, whether that be a merger, whether that be an acquisition, a startup, or just really saying, we're going to have intentionality around growth. So the common thread throughout my career is that I work with companies at transition points to help them scale for growth. Today, we're going to talk about my current company, Midwest BankCentre. Midwest BankCentre was founded in 1906, 100-plus-year-old bank. We are in our 6th generation of ownership. We're about $3 billion in assets. So we look and feel a lot like all the other 4,000 plus community banks throughout the US. Our bread and butter are privately held businesses. We serve about 10,000 local nonprofits and businesses and about 50,000 families. But what happened in 2019 was we decided we wanted to scale for growth. I joined in January of 2019. And since that time, we've doubled our net income and had a CAGR, or a cumulative average growth rate, on the bottom line north of 20%. So what happened in 2019? In 2019, the organization, the majority shareholder, made a very non-linear choice in who they were going to bring on as their next CEO. If you know anything about community banking, it's pretty homogeneous and it's pretty incestuous. Everyone tends to kind of look the same, and they tend to go back and forth between the local banks. They brought in an outsider. My boss, Orv Kimbrough, had run the local United Way, a nonprofit. He was an outsider in that way. He was also an outsider in that he's a black man that was orphaned at the age of 8 and aged out of the Missouri foster care system. Again, didn't look like the other bank CEOs. And one of the things that he did was he brought in outsiders, people like me, people that didn't have banking experience. And I think one of the keys to our secret sauce has been that diversification and that oxygenation of thinking. We've taken career bankers, people that have this incredible, deep industry knowledge, and brought in folks that had incredibly deep subject matter expertise, whether that be in marketing or IT or HR, but from other industries to oxygenate the thinking. So what I'm going to talk about over the next 15 minutes are some of the systems and structures that we put in place at the organization and in marketing to scale for this type of growth. We're about to we're at 3 billion, and we're looking to scale to about 5 over the next few years. And that's all through organic. I think that's key. That is all through organic growth. That's not through acquisition. And we're doing it in a highly commoditized, slow growth market, as you all know. So from an organizational perspective, I think any time that you are in periods of significant transition and change, it's really important that the team know what the strategic pillars are. These are the 3 strategic pillars that we put in place in 2019. They are now battle tested, and we continue to double down on them. Our organization is customer-centric, values-based, and digital-first. At the highest level, from a customer centricity perspective, we know that our competitive differentiator is our relationship-based banking. We know that our competitive differentiator is that people have our team members' cell phones, that we know them by name, we know their industry, we know their community. From a digital-first perspective, we really try to digitize everything behind the handshake. So not that eyeball-to-eyeball, handshake-to-handshake, but everything behind the handshake. We work to digitize and automate. We try to build the foundation and the scaffolding so that we can scale. And then values-based, we truly have a triple bottom line. We believe that you can drive profits and be purposeful, that you can do good, and you can be good community partners and for good partners for your clients. From a marketing perspective, we said, okay, how are we going to build and scale the organization of marketing? When I joined, there was one person in marketing, and a common thread throughout all of the speakers is I think marketing was seen as an order taker. It was very reactive. The individual that was in marketing was a coordinator level, and he did a lot of church bulletin boards. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Lots of flyer requests. So we said, okay, we're going to scale this organization. We're going to build this organization. The 4 pillars that we said we're going to build upon are that we are going to be data dependent, everything's going to be scalable, we're going to be holistic, and we're going to be differentiated. Data dependent, scalable, holistic, and differentiated. And everything must be aligned with the key revenue drivers of the bank. You either need to be driving top line or bottom line growth and be able to highlight that impact, or don't be doing it. So one of the best compliments that I've received in my career came in the last 12 months from my team and I. And we had a very long-term shareholder, minority shareholder, but very long-term shareholder of the bank, call up my CFO. And he said, "What are you people doing over there?" She said, "Got to give a little more context, right? Like, what do you mean? What are we doing?" He said, "What are you doing in marketing?" Again, a little more context, please. "I see you all everywhere. I just saw a commercial on the NCAA Women's Championship game. How much money are you spending?" So, again, one of the best compliments of my career is my CFO was very able to speak and say, "Listen, as a percentage of revenues, we have not grown marketing spend that much. Against our peers and our competitors, we are still in the bottom quartile of marketing spend." So what I would say is there were 2 lessons here for me. Number 1, have the data. Anytime I'm looking to build and scale an organization from a marketing perspective, you always have your naysayers. The thumbnails, the KPIs that I look at tend to be marketing spend as a percentage of revenues, and then you compare that against peer, right? So you say, how are we doing against ourselves? How are we growing? And then also, how are we doing against peer group? The second lesson, get your folks that control the purse strings on board. For me, that's my CEO and my CFO. When they can advocate for marketing spend, when they can say, whoa, 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 we're driving top and bottom line growth and here's what's going on, they act as advocates when you're not particularly maybe in that room. With a shareholder that had been a shareholder for 20 years, my CFO was able to say, we're spending it wisely and we're driving growth. So it's always better to have somebody else give you the compliment than your team try to make that argument. These are the 3 goals that my team has. So we talked about structure. It needs to be data dependent, it needs to be scalable, it needs to be holistic, and it needs to be differentiated. Those are the strategic pillars for structure. For marketing goals, everyone ever heard of the expression KISS, keep it simple, silly? So the 3 marketing goals that we have are new client acquisition, maximizing current client value through increased cross-sell and retention, and driving deposits. My team knows those, the organization knows those, our key stakeholders know those. So all of our activity sets ladder up to these 3 goals because these 3 goals ladder up to the strategic objectives of the organization. When we talk about building a team structure, when we talk about working in the gray, it can seem really daunting. So on one hand, you can hire a team. Remember, I started off with 1 coordinator. You can hire a team, you can hire FTEs and build a team that way. Or on the other end of the spectrum, you can outsource everything. We have taken a hybrid approach, and we have found that this for us works really well. So I have about 7 FTEs that are on staff. We've built that over the years. Each of them manages about 3 verticals. And this is different if you're working in a big organization. You're probably like, I can't even imagine one of my team members managing 3 verticals. But I have an example here. One of my marketing managers manages social, earned media, and nonprofits. They work with contractors and what we have found super small agencies that work as extensions of our team. By building and scaling our team in this way, we're able to flex up and down as volume comes on, right? We're also able to get really great subject matter expertise, but without having somebody working 40 hours a week. I don't have 40 hours a week of SEO needs, but I have an SEO expert on my team because they're a contractor that acts as an extension of my team. This has also been a really great way for me to onboard people. 4 of my 7 team members started out as a contractor with me. And when the work got to be enough that I said, okay, we've got a position, I've made the case, let's talk about bringing you on. They know our organization, we know them. It helps reduce the churn and the risk associated with hiring. We've talked a lot about data. You've got to have the data. You've got to make things scalable, how to flex up and down. The 3rd pillar that we talked about was holistic. We each have, even as consumers, we each have 1,000 different messages coming at us through hundreds of platforms and tens of devices every day. The consumer has a very fragmented attention span. And so you, as the lead marketer, have to be managing each of these different platforms. And what we do is ladder them up to those 3 goals: new client acquisition, maximize current client value, and drive deposits. This is a bit of an eye chart I stole from Gartner. Stole it about 4 years ago. We all know that the customer journey is not linear, but it's illustrative here. These were all of the key touch points that really drive action at each point in the funnel. What I did was I stole the Gartner chart and I said, okay, we're going to color code it. 5 years ago, I said, anything in blue, we haven't touched yet. Anything in blue is something we haven't done. Anything in red is that something that, hey, we've put energy here, we feel pretty good about how we're operating within this touch point. Purple, red and blue make purple, so purple is, we're probably somewhere in between. 5, 6 years ago, this entire chart was blue. Now we've got a lot more red and purple than we do blue. And why I share that is when you're working in the gray, when you're working in significant periods of transition, it's really easy to get caught up in saying we have to do everything right now. And the best thing I can do and say is build a multi-year roadmap. Focus on the most impactful items first, and then go, great, we're gonna chunk it out. These are our goals this year. But have a multi-year roadmap and get alignment from those key stakeholders in advance to go, yeah, it'd be really great to have a chat bot. That's a year 2 thing. That's a year 3 thing, right? That's not a right now thing. So have that multi-year roadmap to say, yes, I am fully aware of all the touch points. Here are the ones we're concentrating on today. When we talk about, I'm actually going to go back. When we talk about a holistic message, you have to have mechanisms in place to make sure that your home base is consistent across all of these touch points. Otherwise, it comes across as really inauthentic to the client or the prospective client. We choose to lead with story. I loved some of the comments from our earlier speakers that even in a B2B business, you are selling to a human, right? We lead with story. For every piece of content, we say, what does it make you think? What does it make you feel? What does it make you do? Those are the 3 pieces or 3 questions that we ask for every single piece of content. We lead with story because, again, a checking account is a checking account is a checking account. We are in a highly commoditized business. Nobody has ever switched to us because of a checking account. But if we can help them understand that it really does matter where you bank, that you can make an impact in our community simply by choosing where you bank, then we can break through. We went against the grain a bit when the average watch time on TikTok and Instagram is less than 30 seconds. One of the ways that we led with stories was through something called the Rising Together series. These are 5-minute videos, so 5-minute videos that tell the impact that we have in the communities we serve through the stories of our clients, through the organization, the businesses, the nonprofits, the individuals. 5 minutes is a lot. We started off as a digital series. On average, we get a 4-minute watch time. That's a 4-minute ad that people are engaging with because we don't talk about product. We don't talk about features. We lead with story and talk about the impact that our clients are having and how they are able to amplify that impact because they bank with us. We started digitally. We then took this to broadcast. And one of the other speakers talked about, I forgot to write down the name, but how hard it is to really tie broadcast, traditional TV broadcast, to your ROI metrics. One of the anecdotal ways we've done that, we put these 5-minute episodes on TV. They air at 6:55 in the morning on Sunday morning before the news. Full 5-minute episodes. Really cheap time period, guys, right? 6:55. But you go, who is watching at 6:55 on a Sunday morning? My business owners are. My clients are. I know that because the clients come to my head of commercial and go, We saw your ad. I saw you here. I saw you with Danny in the warehouse. And there is a reason why algorithms use lookalike modeling, and that's so powerful. It's because birds of a feather flock together. They do it online, but they also do it in real life. So if my best clients are coming to us and saying, I saw you, that was great, people that look like them are, and while I can't necessarily directly tie it to an account open at all times, I know anecdotally it's working. We've had a couple of speakers talk about within the community banking space, our clients are graying out and dying out, right? We have an older client base. So what do you do about it? I think you've got to be innovative and you've got to test and try new things. One of the things that we did was an NIL deal with the Mizzou quarterback Brady Cook. St. Louis is a large base for Mizzou alumni. Mizzou's on a run. They're doing really well within the SEC this year. Will this drive a ton of new account opens on the younger side? We launched it about a month and a half ago. I would tell you jury's still out. But I have gotten a heck of a lot of buzz and a heck of a lot of brand awareness, right? It's kept us top of mind, even with those clients that would never open a student checking account that's outside of their, age range. So just want to end with, when you are working in the gray, when you are trying to scale, those items that I continually come back to, those pillars, are make sure you're driving top and bottom line growth, right? Make sure you are aligned with the strategic initiatives of the organization. Make it be data dependent, scalable, holistic, and differentiated. So I'm going to open it up to questions. Thank you for your time and attention. And if you enjoyed today, please follow me on LinkedIn. I do a lot of content around marketing and leadership. So thank you all. I know we've got a mic runner. Anybody? We got to get one question. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great job.
Thank you.
Son, I took a lot of notes, so thank you. With your Rising Together series, highlighting the impact through the stories of your clients, you mentioned lookalike modeling and birds of a feather flocking together.
Yep.
Can you expand on that? I think I'm a little unclear what you meant. Like your commercials, you're using models that look like your
No,
client?
so
Okay.
thank you for the clarifying question. So when I talk about lookalike modeling and birds of a feather flock together, when you're doing the retargeting or segmentation from either a digital perspective or in the real world, right? Who are my best clients? What are the characteristics of my best clients? Now, let's go find those, right? My agencies tend to do a lot of that algorithmic predictive analytics, right? To go find clients that look like the ones that are already engaging with us online. But that philosophy also works offline, right? So when I'm helping my relationship managers with lead gen, well, who are your best clients? Why did they come to us? What made them switch banks? Okay, great. Now let's go find more of those. So thank you for that clarifying question. I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
You talked about storytelling. What does that look like? Are you actually capturing video of the customers, or is somebody else writing the content, or what does that look like?
So for us, it is storytelling in a lot of different ways. One is absolutely video, right? So we're a small organization. We're about 300 people. I am constantly going out to my key frontline folks and saying, give me stories. Give me stories. What are some really cool things that are happening? And then we highlight them, either through, we have a partnership with our local TV station once a month. It's a advertorial, it looks like news, but we're sponsoring it, it pays for it. 2, digital content online, where we're telling the stories through video. We're also doing it in earned media. We are huge believers in earned media, and we get a lot of earned media because we pitch stories of our clients. And sometimes we'll take second position there. Sometimes we'll pitch the story of the client and we take second position within the headline or in the byline, but we get a lot of earned media by helping our clients tell their stories. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I was just curious on your journey for your customers. There were two different places in there where you had different events.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of events on that journey were between purchases and then between loyalty?
Yeah, so great question. Thank you. We do a lot of events. So if I go back to what differentiates us, again, a checking account is a checking account is a checking account. For us, what differentiates us as a bank is that we know our clients, that we are in the community. People will say, if I call my big national bank, I can't get anyone to answer, but I've got a relationship manager's cell phone here. So on events, we do about 30 client-facing events a year. I have a team member that's dedicated to that. Those are eyeball to eyeball, handshake to handshake. Everything from VIP events at the city soccer match for some of our best clients to we're doing one at the end of the month. It's called a nonprofit connector event. What this came out of was about 5 years ago, my CEO was getting a ton of calls to ask him to join boards because they wanted him on the board, but they also wanted to diversify their board membership. And he said, I can't serve on every board, but let me help connect people. So we take our nonprofit clients and prospective clients and connect them with people that are diverse, that want to serve on boards. We're in our 4th year of doing that. So we do kind of your more traditional, hey, you're a great client, let me take you to a ball game or something to that effect in a group, to more strategic niche events. Yes, sir.
Journey slide, you had a triangle for word of mouth. What do you mean when you say word of mouth?
So we have a couple of things. When I am directionally impaired, I don't know if anyone else is. And when I first joined the bank, I could not find our branches because we hadn't claimed them on Google. Right? I would be in my car, could not find out where I was supposed to go. So one of the first things we did was we said, we know that reviews count. People trust reviews online as much as they do a recommendation from a friend. So we had a very intentional effort around gathering reviews. And we do that both internally and externally. So externally, we do Google reviews. Internally, we have a really intentional effort around gathering reviews for Glassdoor. Because usually the only people that go out to Glassdoor are people that are angry or frustrated. So we ask our team members once a year, go out and review us. Right? It's an email. But we also try to get people at the 3-month onboarding mark. So that's one thing. Number 2, we've had a really intentional effort around building LinkedIn ambassadors. It's a little scary. So I am intentionally asking my team members to go out and post content. But we've trained them and coached them on how to do it. So we have a class, we have a LinkedIn Learn, we had a champions. We pulled those that had some decent followings already, and we coached them on how to create content. And the why behind that is because people do business with people. Another speaker said that. People do business with those that they know. So it keeps us top of mind. And I have gotten a ton of referrals for folks because they'll go, hey, Danielle, you work at a bank. I got a buddy that needs a business loan. And I'll go, I am absolutely not the person to help you with that, but let me introduce you to one of my colleagues. So when we talk about word of mouth, It's building some of those brand ambassadors on channels where clients and prospective clients are, but it's not just your sales team. I've got my HR trainer that posts all the time on LinkedIn, and she's become like a lead generation source as well because people really like her content and they go, oh, you work at a bank. My friend needs help. So that's what, when we talk about word of mouth, those are some examples.
Thanks, Danielle. So you mentioned that you were very church bulletin based.
Yes.
So how do you go from the church bulletin board to data dependent? What were maybe some of the stumbles along the way and how you overcame them?
So, in full transparency, it would not have been possible. I do not believe it would have been possible to go from church bulletin board to where we are today without the support of my CEO. He was a new CEO that came in and said, we're going to invest in marketing and we're not going to market like a bank, right? So I think you have to have wholesale buy-in at the top. Stumbling blocks along the way. And I've done this with every organization I've ever been at, so you would think I would learn. Maybe as I hit 50, I will. But moving too fast, right? I've gotten much better. But coming in like a bull in a china shop is never really well received. So making sure you have that multi-year plan. And going where you're wanted is something that is interesting. And playing the longer term horizon where maybe you're not. My head of commercial is today one of my biggest partners and advocates for marketing. But when I first started, it was like, just stay over there, right? Like, I don't want you messing with what we've got going on. We've got good stuff going on. So instead of trying to run into that brick wall, we said, okay, we're going to focus here, here, and here. And then one of the biggest accomplishments was when he started going, hold up, why are all these other places getting marketing and we're not, right? Where's our love? So again, knowing that there's going to be some longer term plays and that you're going to have to bring people along and show your value. And again, you show your value through the data. You have to be able to highlight in numbers, we're all in financial services, your top line or bottom line impact. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. This is all really insightful. I was just curious, how do you differentiate messaging based on different channels, like TV versus digital versus out of home, potentially, if that's something you're doing?
It's a great question. And I think something we're still getting good at, right? I don't want to claim that we have it all figured out. What I start with is we have a key messaging platform. So I have a one-pager. Here are all the key messages. Every senior leader within my organization has that, right? And when we media train on those key messages. And then we drill down and say, if we're talking about Main Street businesses, here are the 5 key points. If we're talking about, we have a very strong emphasis on highlighting, on serving historically underserved populations, right? People that have a really hard time accessing reasonably priced capital and are in financial quicksand. If you're talking about that, here are your messages. And so when we talk about that holistic message, we try to keep it, that is our home base. We've done some things really well. So the Rising Together series was really great. Some things not so well. We took some shorter form video and put it on TikTok. Fell flat because it wasn't right for that channel. So what we went out and did was we got somebody that was kind of a digital native, and he's in college, right? He was a digital native in TikTok, and we said, here's the content, here's our message, make it appropriate for that channel. And he kicked tail, and it was really cheap, right? He did a great job, but it's in his portfolio, but he helped us be appropriate for that channel. So I think we're done. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much.